This presentation explores teaching strategies for William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet using the gradual release of responsibility model of English teaching with a focus on the learning needs of students with autism spectrum disorder. The gradual release of responsibility model has been chosen to teach Act 3, Scene 1 because the scene has challenging English language, relatable themes like regret and conflict, and it's open for interpretation. The gradual release of responsibility will be supported by teaching strategies, including explicit teaching, activating prior knowledge, and the incorporation of multimodal activities. Please pause the video here if you're interested in reading the lesson plan in depth. Basic lesson plan as follows. Whole class goes over key vocabulary, whole class reads scene. Students in groups change the script to modern English. Individually, students create a comic strip of the event or scene from their character's point of view. Paired discussion with peers to gain others' perspectives. Students write a persuasive article justifying their character's innocence during the scene. Thomas and Thomas explain how the gradual release of responsibility model is an explicit approach to teaching and is a key pedagogical tool for planning with a goal of fostering student reading and autonomy. This is also supported by Thomas and Thomas. Romeo and Juliet Act 3 Scene 1 is a complex scene with figurative language, emotional changes, and dramatic tension. Students with autism spectrum disorder may misunderstand language when it is not direct and may struggle to recognise emotions within the text as supported by the New South Wales Department of Education. Due to its complexity, students, particularly with autism, may be unable to independently comprehend the text. The gradual release of responsibility model is effective because it scaffolds students' understanding and gradually supports them in independently reading and comprehending the text. At the beginning of the lesson, Quinn and Driver explain that before reading a text, activating prior knowledge allows teachers to provide an accurate framework for the lesson and it brings students' knowledge to the forefront of their minds. Through explicit teaching and instructions, teachers can help students know what they already know about a topic, preparing them to delve deeply into the lesson. This is beneficial to students with autism as they typically find it difficult to transition from one activity to another, and going over prior knowledge acts as a cue for the following lesson, allowing the transition to happen slowly. Activating prior knowledge will include recapping important events that have occurred in the text and exploring new vocabulary that will arise in the text, such as tavern, appertaining, and consort. Pearson and Gallagher explain that during the guided instruction phase, the teacher monitors students regularly and intently so they can provide immediate formative feedback whilst allowing the students to explore and learn their texts. During the guided instructions, students can translate the script into modern English. Typically, this stage involves a whole class or group work which will encourage students with autism to learn through watching others and build friendships through working with each other, as supported by the New South Wales Department of Education. Students with autism will benefit from the immediate feedback during this stage as it will help refine their skills and apply them correctly. Romeo and Juliet is a play, which means it focuses on dialogue, character interactions, and emotions. Descriptions of the environment are sparse and only appear through the language used by the characters. Act 3, Scene 1 occurs in a public setting and contains many actions to display a variety of motions. This can be difficult for students with autism to envision and accurately understand. After having assistance to comprehend the text, students are left to almost independently display their comprehension through visual cues. This will give the teacher an insight into their understanding and allow the teacher to provide any feedback before students independently justify their characters' actions. Ogya and Ghosh argue that although comics are a visual sense, they engage all 5 senses and demand the reader to engage their imagination. Students with autism typically demonstrate creativity when completing tasks and thrive with concrete materials rather than abstract ideas, which is supported by the New South Wales Department of Education. Creating their own comic strip based on the significant events from the text, students can leverage their visual perception skills, helping them recognize key components and emotions within the text. All students will benefit from creating the visual comic strips as they are used to develop basic literacy skills and can be utilized when expressing their characters' actions and emotions later in the lesson. Independent assessment tasks often occur at the end of the lesson and is vital for students to understand the purpose of the task and the connection between the task and prior learning. In this lesson, the independent task is an opportunity for students to solidify their learning by applying, synthesizing, and communicating their opinions independently. While formative assessments have taken place during the stages of the gradual release of responsibility model, the independent stage provides an opportunity to assess students' overall understanding and comprehension of the text. Students will display their learning through a persuasive written piece of work justifying their character's innocence during the events and scenes. This works well for the task as there were many conflicting emotions presented by characters and no resolution, allowing students to use their creativity to develop an outcome based on their comprehension of the text. Overall, the gradual release of responsibility model will help scaffold and develop comprehension for a challenging text and has many opportunities to support students with autism spectrum disorder. Thank you for watching.